Chapter 1411, 800 years later. Time flitted by and years passed like minutes. In a flash, 800 years had passed. A whole 100 years had passed since the extermination of the Inner Pill sect, Everlasting sect, Myriad Sword sect, and Ghost sect. The unrest that had appeared in the immortal world because of the Great Tang Empire's annexation of the domains and establishment of the 8 immortal domains gradually died down. The citizens of the Great Tang Empire kept increasing exponentially under its ironclad laws, and a steady amount of peerless cultivation geniuses emerged from it. Peace and justice had established themselves under the laws of the Great Tang Empire. As such, the Great Tang Empire often had visitors from even the distant immortal domains who arrived here intending to settle down. One remarkable mention over these 800 years was that Tang Xiu had around 40 children by now. A majority of them were sons while a few of them were daughters. Misty Spring Ocean. It was home to the imperial city of the Great Tang Empire that was its core, and over these years, it had already become the most flourishing city of all the immortal domains in the immortal world. It was so peaceful that its safety made all the other city lords who believed their cities were safe to feel ashamed. The entire immortal world knew that the Great Tang Empire's imperial city was under the watch of 10 supreme powerhouses. Inside the main hall of the Golden Imperial Palace, Tang Xiu distributed a large number of cultivation resources to the upper echelon of the Great Tang Empire, before they left one after the other, and in the next moment, a figure rushed inside from the outside. The man was shrouded in a lively aura and had handsome looks that resembled Tang Xiu a bit. Father. Tang Nian's lips curled up into a smile as he bowed towards Tang Xiu and beamed a smile at him. Senior sister brought me back from the endless sea. I have some good news for you. Senior sister has already become a supreme and is now our Great Tang Empire's 100th supreme powerhouse. Tang Xiu's eyes lit up as he nodded with a smile. Gu Yin is indeed one of the most talented people in the immortal world. I already expected her to become a supreme within 2,000 years. On the other hand, you're still a golden immortal till now. Tang Nian revealed a somewhat embarrassed expression and said, Father, you know I don't like cultivation much. I prefer traveling everywhere to gain experience more. However, don't worry, Father. At most, I will become a supreme within the next 100 years. Tang Xiu shook his head and smiled. I was hoping to hand the title of the Great Tang Empire's emperor down to you in the future, but you're really unsuitable for receiving this title with your nature. Tang Nian smiled. Father, you better give up your thoughts on handing me the title of the emperor. You know me the best. If you make me the new emperor, this constraint will probably vex me to death. Tang Xiu asked him with a vague smile, who do you think is most suitable to inherit my throne among all your brothers? Tang Nian pondered for a bit and shook his head with a smile. Although all my brothers are quite outstanding, I believe it isn't the time to ponder over such things right now. If you really want me to choose one of them, I believe Tang Song would be a good choice. If you give him another 1,000 years, his excellence will probably leave everyone surprised. Tang Song? Tang Xiu looked at Tang Nian in a daze and asked, Tang Song is 16 years old this year, so why would you select him? And what's your basis about his excellence? Tang Nian said, although Tang Song is only 16 years old, his cultivation talent is the best among all my brothers and sisters. Even senior sister Gu Yin commented with a sigh that his talent in cultivation is even more heaven-defying than hers. He has attained the Great Ascension stage in just 16 years, so it's highly probable that he will ascend to become an immortal before he turns 30. Furthermore, out of all the empresses, only one person doesn't wish for her child to become the new emperor, and this is the Grand Empress. Thus, the instruction Tang Song received endowed him with a broad and just mind. Tang Xiu turned silent. He had also paid some attention to how Han Qingwu instructed his son, Tang Song. He knew his eldest son was speaking the truth. Han Qingwu had to face the estranged sights of several people when he had brought her back to the Great Tang Empire 800 years ago, and also had to bear huge pressure. However, she used her sincerity to redeem herself and completely eliminated all of their preconceived notions towards her. Over these 800 years, Han Qingwu secluded herself from worldly affairs, and the only thing she did other than cultivating daily was to help Tang Xiu with a few tasks. This continued until 16 years ago when she gave birth to Tang Song, her only son. Ever since then, she invested all her time into raising him up. A long time later, Tang Xiu looked at Tang Yan and smiled faintly. "Brat, you're quite astute. Never mind, let's not talk about this issue." According to the rumors, Shade Demon Zhu Wushou's immortal soul fled towards the Endless Sea. Were you able to find any information on him during your trip there? Tang Xiu nodded slowly. I did find something. A disciple of Shade Demon Zhu Wushou lives in the depths of the Endless Sea all year round. However, there were no traces of him left when we reached that disciple's hideout. It's highly likely that Shade Demon Zhu Wushou and his disciple have fled the Endless Sea long ago, but we weren't able to find out where they have fled to. A ruthless glimmer flashed through Tang Xiu's eyes as he said slowly, as they say, the most dangerous location is the safest location. The safest place in the entire immortal world is our Great Tang Empire right now. However, our intelligence department spans across the entire empire, and all people have to identify themselves properly if they wish to live under our laws, so it's quite difficult for him to operate within our empire. Therefore, the Endless Sea, which has been searched several times, should be the safest place in their opinion. It seems like I'll have to make a personal trip over there. Tang Yan cried out in alarm, "Father, you're going to the Endless Sea personally? You must know that it's a place fraught with danger. And even senior sister who has become a supreme already only dared to bring me to the outer regions to gain experience, not even daring to step a foot inside. If Shade Demon Zhu Wushou and his disciple are really hiding in the depths of the Endless Sea, then you." Tang Xiu interrupted his words and shook his head. "I have gone to the Endless Sea several times and even entered its depths, so I'm well aware of the dangers that exist there. Furthermore, I'll be taking 10 supreme powerhouses with me on this trip to the Endless Sea, so don't worry about it." Tang Yan sighed in relief after hearing this, as having the company of 10 supremes would probably allow his father to hold on if they ran into a huge danger. "Father, I still haven't visited the depths of the Endless Sea. Can you take me along with you?" Tang Xiu couldn't hold back from laughing. "You just came back from that damned region and you are actually itching to go back now. Did those marine beasts fail to scare you?" Tang Yan forced a smile. "They did scare me a bit, but I'm much more curious about the depths of the Endless Sea. I was actually planning to make a personal trip there once I become a supreme." Tang Xiu smiled. "You need to strive on your path and attain your goal yourself. Therefore, you better stay in the Imperial City to cultivate obediently. You can go out to travel when you have become a perfected golden immortal." "Father, Tang Yan said hastily. Tang Xiu's lips curled up into a smile as he said, "You have become too accustomed to a smooth sailing life ever since your childhood, so you need to experience some restraint. Just consider the pressure as motivation now. If you cultivate properly, you may reach the perfected golden immortal stage within just a few decades. If you don't have anything else to talk about, go and see your mother now." "All right." Tang Yan left somewhat unwillingly. Tang Xiu sat upright on the Nine Dragons Cathedra and a ruthless glimmer flashed through his eyes. The hatred from back then still hadn't ended entirely. The person who he hated the most, Shade Demon Zhu Wushou, was still alive, and from the information he had received over the past few decades, it appeared that Shade Demon Zhu Wushou's immortal soul was looking for the soul dissolution ambrosia all over. If he were to find it, he would be able to undergo a rebirth, and it would leave no negative after effects at all. However, his cultivation wouldn't be the same as before. "Up here," Tang Xiu said calmly. Whoosh. A figure appeared before Tang Xiu with lightning-quick movements, and then, Feng Yang inquired Tang Xiu with a respectful expression. "Your Majesty, what command do you have for me?" Tang Xiu said faintly, "Contact Jing and order their intelligence members to spread the news to the entire immortal world that Apotheon Feng Yang of the Endless Sea possesses the soul dissolution ambrosia. You will accompany me to the Endless Sea tomorrow." "Understood." Feng Yang acknowledged. Tang Xiu looked at Feng Yang's back as he left and smirked inwardly. Shade Demon Zhu Wushou's biggest weakness right now was that he needed the soul dissolution ambrosia urgently to undergo a rebirth. And the reason he hadn't been able to obtain it was that Tang Xiu had sent 4 supreme powerhouses to guard the entrance of the Nepha's abyss. They would immediately attack him if they saw him, so he couldn't find a way to infiltrate the ghost realm via the Nepha's abyss and obtain the soul dissolution ambrosia. A few moments later, Tang Xiu arrived outside the palace where Han Qingwu resided and saw Tang Song, who had just turned 16, practicing battle arts in the wide training ground when he entered. He was only a great ascension state cultivator right now, but his battle arts had already reached the level of perfection. His movements were fierce and bold yet also swift. Song. Tang Xiu appeared before Tang Song suddenly and called out to him with a faint smile on his face. Tang Song had a very handsome appearance and had a 60 to 70% resemblance to Tang Xiu. Furthermore, he had a perfect physique with a height of 185 centimeters and simply looked like a majestic battle deity. "Father?" Tang Song stopped training and revealed a somewhat astonished expression. Tang Xiu smiled and asked, "How's your cultivation progressing recently? Have you gone out to gain experience?" Tang Song smiled and replied, "My cultivation has been progressing smoothly, and I just accompanied Mother to the Red Lotus Immortal domain to procure some things there a while ago." "Father, do you want monkey wine?" "I got some very strong monkey wine from an old immortal there and felt it tasted pretty good after sampling it." Tang Xiu smiled and said, "Take it out then and let me give it a try." Chapter 14:12 Old Friends. At the edge of the misty spring ocean, there was a lone boat, drifting wherever the wind took it. On top of the boat were 2 middle-aged men, wearing ragged robes and with bodies full of battle scars and injuries. Next to these 2 people, another person could be seen. This person was drenched in fresh blood and still conscious. He was constantly scanning his surroundings while gritting his teeth in anger. "Damn, it totally wasn't worth it. If these 2 guys dare to trick me, I will then cut their willies and feed them to the dogs." While passing through 19 immortal domains, I've already suffered countless ambushes. I've nearly gotten killed so many times. This is the greatest gamble that I've done. We cannot lose. Otherwise, I will lose my home, my land, and my countless women. I will lose too much. The young man clawed at his face and looked around. He found that he was no longer in danger. It was then that he was able to finally breathe a big sigh of relief. Then, he moved one of the unconscious males to one side of the boat, then laid down in the boat and gradually grew deep in thought. Whoosh! 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 Flashes of a group of people suddenly shot towards the boat from afar. In a few breaths, they already appeared on the boat. Their leader, a perfected golden immortal wearing silver battle robes and armed with a weapon, looked at the 3 people on the boat and asked, "Who are you, people? Why have you chosen to enter the Forbidden Sea instead of passing through using the ocean bridge?" The young man stood up, then looked at the immortal in front of him. Then, in reverence and fear, he replied, "My lord, we did not know that this is the Forbidden Sea. We're being pursued by our enemies and have managed to escape by coming here." "That's right, my name is 11 Fingers and I'm from Bright Peak Immortal Domain. These 2 are my good friends. As for why we're being pursued, it's completely because of these 2. The reason as to why I have brought them to the Great Tang Empire's misty spring ocean is to bring them to the Imperial City, to find the Great Tang Heavenly Emperor. They said that they were once good friends with the Emperor. The golden immortal leader suddenly had a weird expression on his face. He hesitated for a second, then asked, "Are you sure that they were once good friends with the emperor? If you can vouch for them, then I will heal them and escort you safely to the city. However, if I find that you have lied to me, then I will, in accordance with the law of the Great Tang Empire, label you as spies who have attempted to infiltrate our Great Tang Empire. If that happens, then I will kill you." The young man was suddenly quite uneasy. Although he was quite strong and was a powerhouse in the Great Ascension stage, his little bit of strength was simply outmatched by the immortals in front of him. Internal conflict ensued within him. In the end, he gritted his teeth and said, "Although I'm not sure if they have lied to me, I will vouch for them." The golden immortal nodded his head, then threw out 2 healing pills. Then, he said, "Give them the pills, then we will leave for the imperial city." Half a day later, the golden immortal brought the 3 of them to the entrance of the imperial city. He spoke to his superior, then left. "Wake up." The perfected golden immortal powerhouse standing in front of them used a special technique to wake the 2 previously unconscious men from their slumber. Then, looking at their dazed expressions, he asked, "Who are you, people? How dare you call yourselves the emperor's old friends? Do you not know that that is a death sentence?" Miao Wentong looked around, then suddenly asked, "Is this the imperial city of the Great Tang Empire?" The perfected golden immortal proudly replied, "Of course. In the whole immortal world, which other city can compare to our Great Tang Empire's imperial city?" Miao Wentong and Xiao Mingjin met each other's gaze, then laughed loudly. Miao Wentong then hurriedly said, "Quick! Take me to Tang Xiu." How audacious! The perfected golden immortal's body suddenly emitted a strong and powerful aura. He immediately silenced Miao Wentong and Xiao Mingjin. Then, he said, "The name of the emperor is not a name that you insignificant immortals have a right to say. Just because of your words, I can immediately kill you. I can prove it." Miao Wentong's body was completely paralyzed in fear. He feared that this powerful figure was going to kill them both. The perfected golden immortal raised his eyebrows and replied, "What proof?" Miao Wentong hurriedly replied, "I have a phone in my spatial ring. Within the phone, there is a picture of Brother Tang and I. No. There's a picture of the Emperor and me. You will understand when you see it." The perfected golden immortal retracted his aura, then replied, "Take out the phone." Miao Wentong immediately took out the phone within his spatial ring. When he found the picture of him and Tang Xiu, he showed it to the perfected golden immortal and said, "My lord, this is the proof. When the emperor was still on earth, we were extremely good friends and were at risk of dying with one another. It's also him who told us that if we ever traveled to the immortal world, then we can just find him. He said that we will definitely be able to find him." When the perfected golden immortal saw the picture, he was shocked. He hesitated for a while, then replied, "This is an important matter. I will need to report this to my superiors. You can go and wait at the entrance of the temple in the meantime. If the emperor wishes to see you, then I will escort you to him." "All right. Thank you." Miao Wentong thought about it, then hurriedly took out 2 immortal crystals from his spatial ring and gave it to the perfected golden immortal. "What are you doing?" The perfected golden immortal was taken aback, then replied with rage in his voice. Miao Wentong's face immediately froze up, then started to laugh. "My lord, this is something that we wish to give you for your efforts. I hope that you will not reject it." The expression on the perfected golden immortal's face immediately lit up. "A gift? Are they bribing me? Just 2 mere immortal crystals to bribe me, a perfected golden immortal general?" Miao Wentong looked at his expression and thought that he hadn't offered enough. He took out 4 more immortal crystals from his spatial ring, then handed it to the perfected golden immortal. With a smiling face, he said, "My lord, this is all I have." I hope that you won't reject it. The perfected golden immortal did not take it, but instead, he laughed and replied, Are you trying to kill me? The Great Tang Empire has an iron law that any officer found taking bribes will be killed immediately.
Ah.
Miao Wentong paused, then replied, Tang Xiu brought that to the immortal world, huh? The perfected golden immortal coldly stared at Miao Wentong, then brought the three of them into the imperial city. After 2 hours, he finally brought them to the entrance of the temple. Inside the palace, Tang Xiu was talking to his son, Tang Song. Suddenly, his expression changed. Without moving his head, he asked, What is it? Emperor, there are a few outsiders who claim that they are your friends. They even said that a perfected golden immortal powerhouse came to deliver the news to Tang Xiu. However, before he could even finish his sentence, he hesitated. Tang Xiu frowned and said, What did they say? The perfected golden immortal powerhouse replied, They said that they were your brothers from a place that you were in. I think they called it Earth. Earth? Tang Xiu's expression suddenly changed. He turned around and asked, What are their names? Miao Wentong and Xiao Mingjin. As for the other person, he's a citizen of the immortal world and their guide, the perfected golden immortal replied respectfully. Miao Wentong? Xiao Mingjin. Tang Xiu's face was filled with surprise. He hadn't even dreamt that they would come to the immortal world this quickly. Furthermore, he didn't even think that they would be able to find this place. Tell me. Where are they? In front of the temple. Tang Xiu held Tang Song's arm, then cheerily said, Song, let's go and meet a couple of my old friends. After half an hour, Tang Xiu appeared in the hall situated in the front of the temple, then looked at the busy workers and asked, Where is Miao Wentong and Xiao Mingjin? In the receiving room. The young man couldn't sit still and looked at Miao Wentong and Xiao Mingjin. He hurriedly asked, Did you lie to me? Bro. Please answer me. I beg you. If you both lied to me, then only death awaits us all. Miao Wentong replied, If this is the Great Tang Empire that we knew previously, and the Emperor of the Great Tang Empire is Tang Xiu, then we are definitely not wrong. 11 Fingers, don't worry. 11 Fingers replied angrily, What? Don't worry? I don't know where you guys are from, and you still managed to trick me to take you here. What have you experienced during all of this? If it wasn't because of me, both of you would have already died 100 times over. Miao Wentong and Xiao Mingjin looked at each other and began to laugh. In the 3 short years that they came to the immortal world, they were immediately met with trouble. All their belongings were taken from them and they were also heavily injured. After that, they employed many methods to try and get immortal stones and crystals. In the end, they finally managed to build wealth for themselves. However, in the process of doing so, they had offended a Silk Pants young master. They only injured him, but the other side kept sending people to chase them. In the end, they could only run for their lives. In these 3 years, although they had killed 100 people, they also came close to dying several times. As for 11 Fingers, he was someone who they managed to trick to join them in their run for survival. Miao Wentong began to hesitate and said, Brother Xiao, if we manage to get this wrong, then we're in trouble, aren't we? Xiao Mingjin bitterly laughed and replied, Yep. Definitely in trouble. This is the Great Tang Empire, which looks to be the greatest empire in the immortal world. No other forces can topple them. If we offended the emperor of this Great Tang Empire, then we are only waiting for death. Miao Wentong went silent, then said, I don't believe that we're wrong. It's not like you don't know just how capable Brother Tang is. No matter if it's Earth or the immortal world, he will definitely make a name for himself. Who knows? Maybe this Great Tang Empire is the same Great Tang Empire on Earth. Although my parents gave birth to me, it's Brother Miao who knows me best. The door to the receiving room swung open and Tang Xiu's bright laughter was immediately heard. Tang Xiu then appeared in front of them. Chapter 1413, The Matters of Earth. Greetings, Your Majesty. All the officers of the Great Tang Empire immediately hurried over to where Tang Xiu was. As soon as Tang Xiu entered the hall, they immediately kneeled at his sight. Tang Xiu looked at them, then said, "I'm here to meet two of my old friends." "You're dismissed. On another note, abundantly reward the person who brought these two brothers to me." "Yes, my lord." All the officers replied simultaneously, then left immediately. Tang Xiu looked at Miao Wentong and Xiao Mingjin. With open arms, he laughed and said, "My two brothers. I didn't think that you would ascend to the immortal world that quickly. Welcome. The Great Tang Empire welcomes you." What a good brother. Although Miao Wentong and Xiao Mingjin were frightened by the previous sight, once they heard Tang Xiu's words and saw his familiar face, they immediately started to laugh happily and hugged each other. On the side, 11 Fingers was speechless as he watched the three people in front of him. He was so grateful that he felt quite dizzy. After all, he knew that it was the famed Great Tang Heavenly Emperor standing in front of him. How could he not know? This person was once the legendary Star Cultivation Great Emperor. However, what made him excited was that this Great Tang Heavenly Emperor, who had an untouchable aura around him, had truly deep friendships with these two friends of his that he made every effort to help. Otherwise, as the Great Tang Heavenly Emperor, why would he appear here personally? How was it possible for him to look at them with such excitement? Hit the jackpot. 11 Fingers was extremely excited. He knew that by risking it all, he made the right choice. After they released each other from their hug, Miao Wenong excitedly said, "Brother Tang, no. I should call you Emperor. When we first came to the immortal world, we already heard your name. Strong. How powerful." Xiao Mingjin also added, "That's right. To think that you haven't been in the immortal world for that long, and you're already the emperor of the most powerful Great Tang Empire. We're in complete awe of your capabilities. We have risked our lives countless times before finally getting here, in the Great Tang Empire. Finally, we have seen you." Tang Xiu laughed and said, "Not very long? Brother Xiao is full of jokes. It has already been over 1,000 years since I've been in the immortal world. However, there is a time difference in the immortal world and Earth. For every year that passes on Earth, around 100 years would have passed in the immortal world. All right, then. Let's stop talking about this. Let's go. I'll take you to the palace. In the future, you guys can just follow me and eat and drink." Miao Wentong and Xiao Mingjin nodded their heads furiously. These two men had already truly grasped the terrors of the immortal world. With such an opportunity in front of them, they would not let it slip. Who is this? Tang Xiu finally realized 11 Fingers' presence and he curiously asked. 11 Fingers, with full respect and awe visibly on his face, kneeled down before Tang Xiu and said, "I'm 11 Fingers, a friend of Brother Miao and Brother Xiao." Miao Wentong said, "Emperor." Tang Xiu immediately said, "Don't call me Emperor. I'm already quite tired of that. You can call me Brother Tang, just as you did back on Earth. I will do the same and call you my brothers." Miao Wentong nodded, then laughed. "Brother Tang, 11 Fingers is someone who we got to meet when we were being pursued by other people. He has helped us before, so we asked him to take us to the Great Tang Empire. In these 3 years, we have suffered constant battles and pursuits and have nearly died in the enemy's hands countless times. If it was not for 11 Fingers, then it's more than likely that we would not be here today." Tang Xiu nodded his head in silence, then looked at 11 Fingers. He then took out a spatial ring, threw it to him, and said, "This is your reward for taking them here, and also an expression of my thanks. Since you have saved my two brothers, then you are a friend of the Great Tang Heavenly Emperor as well. Give a request, and I will satisfy it." 11 Fingers took the spatial ring and couldn't even bother to look at the treasures inside it. He immediately replied, "Many thanks, Your Majesty. I wish to stay beside the two brothers." Tang Xiu was speechless and laughed, "You're a smart one. All right. If you want to become strong, then I will allow you to become strong, since you have proved yourself with your deeds. From today onwards, you can follow these two brothers. I will not neglect you." "Thank you, Your Majesty." 11 Fingers was extremely excited and immediately kneeled on the ground once again. Tang Xiu laughed, then said, "Brother Miao, Brother Shao, let's go. When everything settles down, then you guys can come back and look for this young man later." "Sounds good." Miao Wendong and Xiao Mingjin looked at 11 Fingers. Suddenly, they felt a sensation akin to being in a washing machine. When their vision came back to them, they found themselves inside a palace. This palace was simply glorious, to say the least. It had an aura of grandeur and absolute majesty. The old European castles were simply incomparable to this. "Come," Tang Xiu said with a booming voice. A person immediately appeared next to him. Then, Tang Xiu loudly said, "This is an order for the chef. Prepare the best that we have to offer. I want to welcome and indulge with these two friends of mine who have traveled from afar." "Yes." Tang Xiu brought Miao Wendong and Xiao Mingjin to the dining room and sat down. Then, Tang Xiu laughed and asked, "Both of you have worked hard to get here. I should be letting you rest first, but I became very excited upon seeing the both of you. So, I want to eat and drink with you first." Miao Wendong sighed, then replied, "Brother Tang, let me say something that's truly from my heart. All of what we have accomplished would not have been possible without you. In our hearts, you are not only our friend and our brother but also our inspiration and guide in life. Upon seeing you again and realizing that you did not treat us differently because of the differences in status and strength, it has only strengthened my belief that I was incredibly fortunate and wise to have become brothers with you back then." Tang Xiu laughed and replied, "Brother Miao, don't say that. Back on Earth, both of you have helped me tremendously. Truly, if it wasn't for both of you helping me back then, it would not have been easy to expand the way I did. Therefore, we are a family. Don't treat me as a stranger. Since you have come to the immortal world, stay in the great Tang Empire. If you are willing to become officials, then I will prepare for you a position, and arrange for a group of powerful bodyguards for you. If you want to train in peace, then all our cultivation resources and armory is open for you to use freely. Anything that you want, you can have. All in all, the great Tang Empire is your home. Oh, that's right, I will also arrange a place for the both of you inside the imperial city. I'll give you 2 palaces." Miao Wendong and Xiao Mingjin looked at each other, then tears began to flow out of their eyes quickly. However, it also disappeared just as quickly. They both looked at Tang Xiu, then Miao Wendong said, "Brother Tang, we will follow whatever you have planned." Tang Xiu asked, "Brother Miao, Brother Shao, after 1,000 or so years in the immortal world, it should have been only around a decade or so on Earth. I remember when I left Earth, your cultivation levels were still very low. How did you both manage to ascend to the immortal world this quickly?" Miao Wendong gratefully replied, "It's solely because of the things that you gave us. Long Zhengyu has also helped me. Besides, we also found a place that had 3 pills. However, we didn't recognize what they were, but the smell was extremely strong, so we guessed that it was something good. We swallowed 2 of them, then our cultivation levels soared. That's right, we also left one for Long Zhengyu. So he should be at the crossing tribulation stage and ascending to the immortal world soon." Tang Xiu was shocked. Then, he asked, "Before you came to the immortal world, what was the situation like on Earth?" Miao Wendong and Xiao Mingjin looked at each other, then both of them had a bitter smile on their faces. Then, they said, "We had a conflict with the Special Abilities Bureau. Duanmu Lin couldn't control some of his people, whose strengths were rapidly growing. Then he hopelessly resigned from his position, then entered the minor world that Long Zhengyu was in control of to cultivate in peace. During these few years, we have come in conflict multiple times with the people of the Special Abilities Bureau. In the most intense and most serious conflict, there have already been extremely fierce fighting on both ends. If it wasn't for a powerful old man, we fear that many of those guys would have already died. Tang Xiu's aura suddenly grew cold. Then, he coldly smiled and said, because of his foolishness, Duanmu Lin lost his chance at ascending to the immortal world with me. Then, I handed him a group of brothers for him to manage, but he also failed at that. However, him resigning from the position in the Special Abilities Bureau was actually a good thing. How are Long Zhengyu and his people? How is the magnificent Tang Corporation now? Miao Wentong said, the magnificent Tang Corporation has become the greatest corporation in the world. However, a new law has passed that no one from the magnificent Tang Corporation is allowed to communicate with anyone in the government. No cultivator is allowed to have a position in the government either. As for Long Zhengyu and that group, they are already powerful figures and known throughout the whole earth. Each of them has grown well. Tang Xiu happily nodded his head and said, I have left them a lot of things on earth. If their potential is good, then they can ascend to the immortal world. I have already established a foundation here, so once they come to the immortal world, they can enjoy immortality. Miao Wentong smiled and nodded his head. Suddenly, as if he thought of something, the smile quickly receded. Then, he said, as for the group of guys, not all of them have been well. One of them who is suffering. Miao Wentong replied, Ji Mu. Tang Xiu asked, what happened? Miao Wentong replied, he went insane. Tang Xiu hurriedly asked, what happened? From what I know of his emotional state, unless a drastic event happened, he would definitely not go insane. Miao Wentong smiled bitterly and replied, Ji Mu's daughter was harmed by some people from the Special Abilities Bureau. In his rage, Ji Mu went to find the people who harmed his daughter. Instead, he was the one who was inflicted serious damage. Because his daughter committed suicide after being harmed and Ji Mu himself sustained serious injuries, his wife managed to find some explosive bombs, found where the Special Abilities Bureau people lived, and blew herself up along with them. Ji Mu, seriously injured, was inflicted further pain, so he went insane. In the last 2 years before we ascended, he vanished without a trace. We have tried all we can to find him, but our efforts have been futile thus far. Chapter 14:14, Nicely done. Tang Xiu was filled with a cold rage. Then, he coldly laughed. You guys should remember who those Special Abilities Bureau people are, right? I hope, for their sake, that they never come to the immortal world. Otherwise, if you ever meet them again, we will kill them on sight. Xiao Mingjin replied, most of the elementalists in the Special Abilities Bureau are nearly dead. Long Zhengyu showed his ruthless side and already secretly has the whole country under his control. You guys did this? Tang Xiu asked. Miao Wentong replied, that's right. We did this. We chose the main base of the Special Abilities Bureau as our place of ascension. Those arrogant fools were full of ignorance and that cost them their lives. All of them, if not most of them, died during our tribulations. Tang Xiu gave them a big thumbs up and praised them. Nicely done. At this moment, Tang Song, who had been next to Tang Xiu this whole time, suddenly raised his voice and said, wow. Both of these uncles are impressive. Tang Xiu turned around and saw Tang Song. Then, as if he woke up from a dream, he slapped his head and said, look at me now. After seeing my 2 brothers, I forgot about this little brat. I'll introduce you. This is my son, Tang Song. Tang Song, greet them. Tang Song laughed and said, Uncle Miao. Uncle Xiao. Miao Wentong and Xiao Mingjin were shocked. They didn't expect Tang Xiu's son to be this grown-up already. Both of them stood up, looked at each other, then they each took out an item from their spatial rings. Miao Wendong smiled and said, Tang Song, your Uncle Miao is quite poor, so I'll use this as a greeting gift. Please don't dislike it. Xiao Mingjin laughed and said, I'm just as poor, but a greeting gift cannot be forgotten. Thank you, Uncle Miao and Uncle Xiao. Tang Song laughed as he took the 2 items. Although he didn't lack anything, they were still gifts from his elders. After Tang Xiu's eyes fell on those 2 items, he immediately reached out his hand and said, let me have a look at those 2 items. An instant later, he already took the red bead and blue bead in his hands. Then, after closely examining it, he sighed and said, 2 heavens beads. One represents destruction and the other represents creation. These 2 heavens beads, even in the immortal world, are very rare treasures. Miao Wenong smiled and replied, we're not sure what these are, but these beads are the only thing that we can take out right now. Tang Xiu laughed and replied, Brother Miao, my children already have quite a few of these. What? Miao Wendong and Xiao Mingjin looked at each other, then immediately started laughing. Tang Xiu gave these 2 heavens beads to Tang Song and said, swallow both of these beads at the same time. One represents destruction and the other represents creation. I hope that you will be able to understand their meanings and have them completely under control. If you are able to do this, then your future accomplishments will not be any less than mine. Yes. Tang Song lightly nodded his head and replied. After a few days, Tang Xiu already ordered his people to arrange 2 palaces for Miao Wendong and Xiao Mingjin. Furthermore, he also arranged for many people to serve them. Tang Xiu also gave them 10 million immortal crystals each for them to use. Of course, Tang Xiu also gave them a bunch of cultivation pills, cultivation techniques, and some weapons for them to use as well. After a while, he brought 10 supreme powerhouses and began his journey to the Endless Sea. At the same time, all of the intel operation departments had completely turned their attention to the Endless Sea. A large portion of the intel operatives had already either entered the Endless Sea or stayed in the surroundings of the Endless Sea, strictly monitoring all information within that area. Endless Sea. It wasn't a violent water body, but rather a place that was full of terrain that was shaped by meteorites. Many different landmasses could be seen, whether they were big or small. Furthermore, those meteorites would come at unexpected times and explode upon landing on the landmasses. The meteorites in the outer regions were smaller, so the dangers were extremely low. However, the meteorites within the inner regions were much larger and the landmasses were also much larger. And in the depths of the Endless Sea existed an impressive small-scale immortal domain. Energy tides. If this was in the starry skies, then they would be the harbinger of death for countless immortals. However, in the Endless Sea, energy tides protected the landmasses from being struck by the meteorites. Wherever there were energy tides, meteorites would not land there. Therefore, energy tides were a safe haven for those in the Endless Sea. There were countless treasures and wealth within the Endless Sea. The wealth and resources were mainly left behind by the immortals who had ventured here. After a while, the number of immortals who came here accumulated and naturally, the number of deaths because of the meteorites also accumulated accordingly. In the end, the Endless Sea became a paradise for the risk-takers. We're here. Next to Tang Xiu were Seaway Monarch and Nether Seawhale King. As for the other 8 supreme powerhouses, they were inside the heavenly abode. The Nether Seawhale King scanned their surroundings and said, Your Majesty, are we going to enter the Endless Sea directly? Or are we going to investigate the surroundings first? That shade demon Zhu Wushou is extremely cunning. I don't know what he's planning at all. Tang Xiu replied, he won't be able to enter the inner regions of the Endless Sea unless he can enter its depths where the energy tides are protecting the land masses. He was once a late-stage supreme powerhouse, so he was able to freely traverse the Endless Sea, but he's a mere immortal soul now and as powerful as a celestial immortal stage cultivator at most. If he dares to enter the Endless Sea in his current state, he could die at any time. From what I know of his careful character, he will not take that risk so easily. The Nether Sea Whale King replied, Your Majesty, do you mean that Shade Demon Zhu Wushou will not enter the depths of the Endless Sea and that we just need to look for him in the outer regions? Tang Xiu shook his head and replied, Quite the opposite. According to Shade Demon Zhu Wushou's intelligence, he would be able to think of the things that we think of. Furthermore, he also has a perfected golden immortal disciple next to him. With that perfected golden immortal disciple with him, he need not be afraid of entering the depths of the Endless Sea. Therefore, once he heard the news that I have deployed my people to the Endless Sea, he would most likely have already entered the depths of the Endless Sea in his search. The Seaway monarch nodded his head slowly and replied, That sounds quite logical, Your Majesty. Shade Demon Zhu Wushou is extremely cunning and has many cards up his sleeves. If he wants the soul dissolution ambrosia, then he will most likely enter the depths of the Endless Sea. I have come here previously, so I know the place is protected by energy tides. We can search from the deepest areas of the Endless Sea and conduct our search from there. We may be able to find traces of him easily that way. Tang Xiu smiled and replied, If we rely on manpower alone to search, it would be akin to finding a needle in a haystack. The whole Endless Sea is much too big for us to search. Its area is larger than 10 large immortal domains combined. Therefore, we need to prepare something. We may not need to go and search for him ourselves, but that he may come and look for us instead. The Seaway monarch hurriedly asked, Your Majesty, what do you have in mind? Tang Xiu nodded his head and replied, I have already thought of a plan on the way here. Seaway monarch, there is a powerful figure in the Endless Sea known as the Tidal Empress. Since you have been here before, have you heard of this person? Seaway monarch's facial expression slightly changed, then he bitterly smiled and replied, Your Majesty, not only have I heard of this Tidal Empress, but I have also interacted with her. This woman is extremely ruthless and cruel. Anyone who wronged her would be constantly pursued and attacked by her as long as you were in the Endless Sea. She's remarkably powerful and is extremely suited to fight in the Endless Sea. Even a late-stage supreme powerhouse would find it extremely difficult to kill her in the Endless Sea. Tang Xiu was surprised and said, You had a run-in with her? Tell us what happened. Seaway monarch explained, At that time, because I wanted to catch a flying skyfish, I entered a piece of land that was protected by energy tides. There were countless immortal beasts on that land, and they were all very gentle, like domesticated animals. When I entered the place, I ended up meeting the Tidal Empress. Fortunately, the Tidal Empress needed immortal crystals and crystal essences that day, so she asked me for them. I gave it to her, so she didn't kill me. Tang Xiu asked, Is that piece of land her home? The Seaway monarch shook his head and said, I'm not sure. Tang Xiu took a deep breath, then nodded and said, It doesn't matter whether or not that place is her home. We need to find her. That Tidal Empress has a remarkable innate talent. That talent of hers allows her to control the energy tides. Furthermore, she's able to use the energy tides to find traces of living energy in her surroundings. If Shade Demon Zhu Wushou is in the Endless Sea, then she can quickly find him. The Seaway monarch was shocked. Emperor, do you mean to ask the Tidal Empress to help us? Is this possible? I know this woman very well. She's as cold as a person can be. Tang Xiu calmly replied, If I'm willing to give a drop of god blood for her assistance, do you think that she will agree? The Seaway monarch's eyes brightened. He nodded and replied, I think that she will agree to help us. God blood has great benefits for even a supreme powerhouse, after all. Tang Xiu said, Let's go. Let's go and find her. In the depths of the Endless Sea, there was a piece of land that was covered by energy tides. The area of the land was extremely large. Tang Xiu and the rest of them searched the Endless Sea for 4 years and had finally found it now. When the few of them breached the energy tides and entered the inner parts of the land, they saw countless immortal beasts resting there. The sights were extremely beautiful. The water was crystal clear, and the mountains soared far above the sky. Tang Xiu looked around and didn't find any traces of an immortal living here. Then, he yelled, "Tidal Empress! We wish to meet you." Scram! A furious voice traveled from the top of a large mountain. Tang Xiu instantly locked onto the mountain and brought Siwei Monarch and Nether Seawell King to the foot of the mountain. He said deeply, "Tidal Empress, I'm the Great Tang Heavenly Emperor of the Great Tang Empire. I have long heard the name of the Tidal Empress, but I have never had the opportunity to meet you personally. This time, I'm here to make a deal with you. I believe that this deal will benefit both of us greatly. Get lost right now." The cold voice traveled down once again. Tang Xiu coldly laughed and replied, "God blood. I have a drop of God blood in my hands. If you have not passed the divinity tribulation, I'm afraid that you will need it." God blood? You have God blood? Chapter 14-15 Mutual Deception. An indistinct figure flickered in front of the three of them instantly. She was extremely quick, not even Tang Xiu was as quick as her. Tang Xiu looked at the woman before him who was dressed in black and immediately guessed that this was the famed Tidal Empress of the Endless Sea, a supreme powerhouse. He smiled, then said, "I do have God blood. Furthermore, I have more than a drop. Let's make a deal that will benefit both of us." The Tidal Empress coldly stared at Tang Xiu, then asked, "What deal?" Tang Xiu calmly replied, "Help me find Shade Demon Zhu Wu Shou, and I'll give you a drop of God blood. This is a fair trade." The Tidal Empress mulled over the deal, then asked, "Is that it?" Tang Xiu smiled and replied, "That's it." "It's quite easy, is it not?" The Tidal Empress nodded her head and replied, "It's indeed easy. In fact, I don't even need to lift a finger. This is because I already know where Shade Demon Zhu Wu Shou is." Tang Xiu immediately asked, "Where is he?" The Tidal Empress curled her finger, beckoning for Tang Xiu to hand the God blood over, then said, "Give me the God blood first." Tang Xiu retrieved a jade bottle from his spatial ring and gave it to the Tidal Empress. "There is one drop of God blood in there." The Tidal Empress was visibly excited. After examining the bottle closely and determining whether or not the God blood was real, she raised her head and looked at Tang Xiu, then asked, "The god's corpse inside Nifa's abyss. It was you who got it, right?" "Back then, I spent all my efforts and still failed to get even a single drop of God blood." Tang Xiu nodded his head and replied, "You're indeed correct. The God blood from that place is here with me." The Tidal Empress then said, "If you want me to tell you where Shade Demon Zhu Wu Shou is, then besides the God blood, you will need to give me one more thing. If you can fulfill this request, then I promise that Shade Demon Zhu Wu Shou will appear in front of you very soon. If you do not agree, then the deal is cancelled. You guys can search the Endless Sea by yourselves." Tang Xiu replied, "What is it that you want?" The Tidal Empress replied, "I need a god's eye." Tang Xiu immediately shook his head and replied, "Impossible. You know full well of the value of god eyes. I have never touched other parts of a god's corpse besides extracting god blood. Therefore, I'm afraid that there must be a change of request. Otherwise, I will cancel the deal." A smile crawled onto the Tidal Empress's face. She said, "The Great Tang Heavenly Emperor. I have heard of you before. You're the most powerful emperor in the whole immortal world. I've heard the rumor that you have countless supreme powerhouses serving you. Can you confirm that?" Tang Xiu smiled slightly, then summoned the other 8 supreme powerhouses from the heavenly abode Immortal artifact. Then, he replied, "Saying that I have countless supreme powerhouses is an exaggeration, but the rumor is partly true. I do have around 100 supreme powerhouses in my Great Tang Empire. Tidal Empress, you must be aware that although this might be your home, even you will find it difficult to survive under the attacks of 11 supreme powerhouses. Instead, I have come here in peace and have not forced you to make the deal. In fact, the deal is a fair one. I hope that you can put your personality aside and work with me peacefully. The title Empress' eyes suddenly became extremely alert and she scanned each person that appeared in front of her. When her eyes fell on Seaway Monarch, she paused for a second, then looked at Tang Xiu and said, "All right, then. I'll tell you where Shade Demon Zhuwu is. Come with me." Tang Xiu was slightly surprised, as he didn't expect the title Empress to surrender that easily. However, given how easily she gave up, Tang Xiu was suddenly extremely cautious. He then sent a message to everyone else, telling them to be on guard as well. After half a day, Tang Xiu's eyes beamed. This was because he had been here before. This was the place where he prepared an ambush and killed a supreme and 2 perfected golden immortals. This was the Maelstrom space. It was an interesting place. This was a place that was extremely suited to killing people. Title Empress, this is a very peculiar place. I didn't think that there was such a place in the immortal world. Tang Xiu said this with an unwavering expression and a slight smile on his face. The title Empress had a calm expression on her face, but her heart was full of murderous intent. She said, "This is called the Maelstrom space. This is the safest place in the whole of the Endless Sea. Don't be afraid of the energy emitted by the Maelstrom, as it's safe inside it. I have lived for so long in the Endless Sea, so I know most of the Endless Sea pretty well." The safest? No dangers? Tang Xiu laughed in his heart. He already recognized something amiss. This Maelstrom space was a nightmare for countless perfected golden immortals. Even supreme powerhouses were at danger of dying themselves. And yet, the title Empress was saying that it wasn't dangerous? Was she trying to trick them as if they were 3-year-olds? That's right. With the title Empress here with us, a supreme powerhouse who is familiar with the area, we need not worry. However, where is Shade Demon Zhuwu? Is he here? Tang Xiu asked this with a smile on his face. The title Empress pointed to the largest flock of swirling clouds at the distance and said, "Shade Demon Zhuwu is there. Furthermore, it is I who placed him there. This is because I received some good things from him before, that's why I helped him. However, the things that he gave me cannot compare to the drop of God blood. It's simply rubbish in comparison." Tang Xiu thought about it for a second, then said, "The title Empress is correct. How many drops of God blood are there in the whole immortal world? Close to none. However, although I don't have a lot of God blood myself, I can still give enough to around 810 cultivators. If we can kill Shade Demon Zhuwu, the last enemy of mine, then I'm willing to give even more. Therefore, when we kill Shade Demon Zhuwu, I will give you another drop of God blood. Furthermore, if you are willing to serve under me, the doors of the Great Tang Empire will be wide open for you. I will happily receive you into the Empire." The title Empress smiled, then said, "Many thanks to the Great Tang Heavenly Emperor. If I ever plan to do that, I will hurry to the Great Tang Empire at once. Now, I'll bring you to Shade Demon Zhuwu first, then I'll help you kill him. After that, I will take the God blood and cultivate for a few 100 years. Then, we shall see." "I respect your decision," Tang Xiu smiled and replied. As they were talking, they came to the largest flock of swirling clouds. The title Empress did not hesitate and flew in immediately and quickly disappeared into the cloud layer. "All of you, be on guard. I have been here. This is definitely not as safe as the title Empress has said. Instead, it's extremely dangerous. Even careless supreme powerhouses will lose their lives here. Seaway Monarch, stay next to me. Golden-eyed Great Pang and Nether Seawhale King, stay out here. If something happens inside, then you will immediately attack these clouds later. As for the rest of you, enter the heavenly abode." Understood. They acknowledged in succession. After an instant, Tang Xiu and Seaway Monarch followed the title Empress lead and entered the Maelstrom space. Upon entering it, they saw a seemingly endless ocean. However, the water was not the normal blue color. Instead, it was of a pitch-black color. Weakening water? Seaway Monarchs looked at the water with his vast knowledge, and he couldn't help but sigh. Tang Shou's eyes beamed with a cold aura. He looked at the tidal empress, who had stopped moving around 10,000 meters in front of them. Then, he coldly smiled and said, "This is all ocean water, and it's also weakening water from the ghost realm. For Shade Demon Zhu Wushou, this is definitely something that would harm him. By hiding here, is he not afraid of death?" The tidal empress then laughed and said, "Hiding here? My senior is not that stupid to hide here. Instead, I think you, the great Tang Heavenly Emperor, is the stupid one. You clearly aren't as smart as my senior said you were. You even dared to come into the maelstrom space with me." Tang Shou continued to smile and said, "What do you mean by this?" The tidal empress looked at Tang Shou condescendingly and replied, "Tell your servants to come out of the heavenly abode. If they don't come out, then they can just be awaiting death. This is the maelstrom space. This is one of the most dangerous places in the immortal world. Even supreme powerhouses have a high chance of dying here. Furthermore, I have arranged this place to be your graves." Tang Shou nodded his head, then replied, "You're indeed correct. The maelstrom space in the endless sea is indeed one of the most dangerous places in the immortal world. I have been here before and have even killed a supreme and 2 perfected golden immortals here. The last time I was here, I was only a mere perfected golden immortal." The tidal empress froze in shock, then slowly replied, "Since you knew that I was lying to you, you still dared to enter?" Tang Shou coldly laughed and said, "Of course. You aren't the only one familiar with this place. I, too, am familiar with it. However, I didn't expect you to be Shade Demon Zhu Wushou's junior. It seems that we did not do a clean job of killing everyone last time. Everyone from the ghost sect should die. Call out your people. I want to see what you can do and what you have prepared for us. You're so confident that you have even called all 11 supreme powerhouses to stay." The tidal empress coldly laughed and replied, "How arrogant. Since you want to know, then I will fulfill your wish. Ghost sect elders, please come out and assist me." Whoosh. 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 16 silhouettes flickered and immediately surrounded Tang Shou and the team, flying in from all directions. The aura that these 16 people emitted was stronger than the later stages of perfected golden immortal cultivators, and was comparable to early-staged supremes. They're not supremes. They're fallen immortals? Tang Shou had a weird look in his eyes. His eyes fell over the 16 fallen immortals and only found 2 familiar faces within the 16 of them. As for the other 14, he did not recognize them. Furthermore, the aura that the 14 emitted was stronger than the other 2.